Hello and welcome back to the channel. I've already had opportunities to discuss the fact that I may be slowing down a little bit, and through March it will be hard for me to keep track of comments and answering promptly, but I still will do my best to answer as quickly as I can and whenever I can. Hopefully after March things will calm down a little bit. Today I would like to address one topic that is a major challenge for building ship models, and that is of course the construction of sails. Somewhere a much wiser person than me once said that the three most beautiful things in the world are a waltzing young lady, arguable, a cantering horse, been there, done that, arguable, or a ship under full sail. With this last, I fully agree. The problem, of course, is that this is very hard to translate into a ship model. There is the scale issue of the cloth, there is the scale issue of the actual seams and the sewing of the sails. Then there is also the sheer construction. How much information do we really have? There is, of course, art from the second half of the 18th century and even more from the 17th century. But how trustworthy are they? And this still gives us what the sail should look like, but not necessarily how it is actually put together. Archaeologically speaking, we do have a few examples, but they are very, very few from the age of sail. And there are the sails from Vasa, of course. There are a couple of sails recovered from a Swedish merchant ship from the mid-18th century, which was excavated in France some years ago, more than a decade ago. It was published in the International Journal of Nautical Archaeology. The Vasa sails are published in the second volume of Vasa, which unfortunately I still do not have, much as I would like to finally lay my hands on it. But those sails were studied by the late sailmaker, historical sailmaker Louis Bartosz, God rest his soul. He was quite a character and an interesting personage. And then, of course, there are the written sources. We know that in the mid-17th century, actually the second half of the 17th century, during the Restoration Navy, one of the major suppliers of cloth and sails was a female businesswoman. And in this context, I will bring your attention, since the majority of ship modelers are building really 18th century ships, especially warships, but not necessarily. It is easiest to reconstruct and to deal with vessels of the Royal Navy because the archives are so chock full of information, because this information is very, very well catalogued, and because it is so easily accessible. There are some published sources, however, that do not require you to go all the way to the archives and dig through them. And it was David Anshaw, the great ship modeler, who popularized David steel for ship modelers in general, although he put his emphasis, of course, on hull construction, on proportions of vessels, on the sequence of construction, etc., etc. In recent years, fairly cheap or reasonably cheaply priced Cambridge Library Collections edition of Steele's books on sails and rigging have become available. If only to fallible memory is serving me right, we are talking something in the vicinity of $20–25 a piece. And I have the second book in my hand. I heartily recommend it to anyone who is interested in manufacturing of sails. Many of you have expressed admiration for the sails that Olia produces, and especially the current crop of sails are based pretty much entirely on David steel. And that are, of course, the sails for Boreas. It was one of the main things that the owner of Boreas wanted to be upgraded. And having recently seen the previous set of sails still rolling around here in the shop, I can totally understand the need to upgrade. The old ones were catastrophically bad. So, what sort of information is this book going to give us? If you want to use things as they are out of the box and expect a quick and dirty way of producing sails, it's not going to work. You're far better off not rigging your model or doing it the now traditional way, which incidentally is not historically a traditional way, of simply bare yards, bare rig, outlines of sails only suggested with the running gear of the sails. But if you are willing to go through the trouble, well-designed, well-constructed, historically accurate sails can add quite a lot to the model. And this is where this book is going to help you. Because it gives pretty much for every class and tonnage of vessel, it is telling you how many cloths, that is to say, the cloth is a standard width, about 22 inches if memory serves me right. It is telling you how wide each sail should be at the head, how wide down at the foot, how deep the sail should be. It is telling you something about the actual process of sewing. Most importantly, it is also telling you everything that you need to know about reinforcements, from the dimensions of the tablings, through the reinforcement cloths like the top reinforcement, etc., linings, on which side of the sail, which type of lining should be added. And do watch the videos on the sister channel of She Who Must Be Obeyed. She will show you exactly how the different linings and tablings are attached on which side of the sail. And it took her quite a while to work her way through the book. There is no magical button that you can hit and will produce all. You will have to sit and calculate these things. You will have to do it yourself. But there are such things as tables that are giving you the width of tablings in inches. Of course, what else would it be? It is giving you even the number of yarns in each strand of the boat ropes. Now, I bet you couldn't fall asleep worrying about the number of yarns that go into the boat ropes of your sails. Now, this is all solved for you. You really have hard time falling asleep? Take the book. Read it from cover to cover. You don't need any medications, trust me on this one. It is giving you the circumference of the boat ropes. I'm pretty much sure that I am preaching to the choir, but I'll do it nevertheless, because it is in my nature to do so. Namely, traditionally, natural fiber ropes were measured in circumference, not diameter. Diameter became the dominant way of representing dimensions of a rope only with the introduction of steel cables in the second half of the 19th century. For normal cables, it is always. So when you read that Wasser's anchor cable was 11 inches, this does not mean diameter. It means circumference of the cable. And yes, we do have remnants of that cable, so we do know for a fact. There are things in the book. There actually are also some, assuming I can find them eventually, reinforcements of showing you how the sail would look together with the tablings, with the linings, with the attachment of the gear, with the reef points. All this information that actually makes the difference between a lousy sail and something that is at least remotely believable. He even offers you sketches of sails. This is the best advice that I can give you on this. And the book is easily available on Amazon or anywhere else for that matter. The series are really 4. There is one a volume that is on the spars, the making of spars, proportions of spars, construction of spars, typical dimensions of spars for each class of vessel. The second one is the art of sail making. Then there is one on rigging the lines. And finally, there is one book on seamanship, which I also highly recommend, because it is going to tell you if you really want to do a proper semi-diorama or a ship that is rigged in a believable way, then that would be your best guide. Below the video there are links to these books from which you can order them. I would have liked to say that if you have any questions, write them down, I'll answer them, and I will eventually. But please do be patient with me, bear up with me. I have until March to submit a major manuscript for a huge book. And as usual, thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Particularly big thank you to the sponsors of this channel, because it is really you who make it worth my while to continue making these videos and take time from my work. So I really appreciate it. That's very kind and very generous of you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day and happy sail making.